welcome to Opinionated Marketers with Charles Nixon and me, Kiran Kapur. Today we're talking Christmas ads, much to Charles's annoyance. I've sort of insisted because it's December and I feel we should. Charles, this is not really a topic you want to cover, is it?
Humbug. It's one of those things where one becomes somewhat conflicted. You know that you used to enjoy it. You think that everyone should enjoy it. But you also see the rampant commercial side of things and the downside that brings with climate change and the ecological issues that there are. It's not unfair to say that I've always been a little bit concerned of the over commercialization of Christmas and the constant imperative to buy more and more and more products, which in most instances will probably not last very long. And my son has probably been the beneficiary of those like everybody else. My concern these days is more that we're just seeing what we used to do right the way through the last 40 years, from the 60s onwards, which is basically lots and lots of commercialization to make people buy things. But now increasingly with one's age, one sees that many of the things that are being offered are not necessarily good for us or necessarily good for the planet. And that's the process by which my brain goes through when I see a whole scree of adverts these days. There are some exceptions, though.
So let's talk about some of the exceptions that were what had caught my eye. So there's a nice Diageo advert going out at the moment, which is all around. Diageo is a big drinks manufacturer, particularly alcoholic drinks, and they're doing a big campaign about you don't have to overindulge on the alcohol at Christmas time to enjoy yourself. So they are admittedly pushing their low alcohol drinks and no alcohol drinks, and so there's a sales element, but they are looking to do something a little bit different.
Yes, I think there's an element there which is commendable on the basis that we have talked in the past about stimulating over-consumption of things which are not good for either the self or society. This is showing some sort of level of moderation, whilst at the same time achieving hopefully some balance in maintaining a healthy revenue stream. So I think that is not necessarily commendable, but it is acceptable.
Another one that caught my eye was the Co-op, which has decided it's going to opt out of the battle of the Christmas adverts and is focused on raising donations, and it's talking about the gift of community spirit. So this fits quite nicely with the Co-op brand. They actually tend to be quite an expensive supermarket, but they tend to be in smaller communities where they have, the supply chains maybe aren't as easy. And so they are looking to raise funds towards local community causes, which I think is quite a nice one.
I think that is good. I mean, you're absolutely right. It fits with their brand and their ethos. And it's nice to see that the purpose of the organisation, the ethics of the organisation is maintained when it could quite easily be converted into just sell as many things as possible. So yes, I think that one is definitely to be commended. Similarly, the one which we talked about last week of Iceland, which has decided that it will not do an advertising campaign and put the money towards customer discounts and customer support. And I think that is also an important one, both of which are taken from a strategic marketing perspective, reinforce the brand, reinforce the idea of customer first, and I think will last them better than the transitory nature of just selling things over a short couple of weeks.
I agree. There's another couple that just amused me because they happen to tickle my sense of humour. One is the Burger King one, which has taken the Chris Rea driving home for Christmas and subverted it into driving to a drive-through, which it's encouraging you to buy things perhaps you shouldn't. It's on brand because it's quite funny. I know that it probably feeds into your dislike of Christmas adverts, Charles, but I just thought it was just a bit of fun.
Whilst one cannot deny that it is a bit for fun, it makes musing. It is not, in my opinion, the right thing to be advertising, and given the fact we have an obesity crisis, it should be banned.
Okay, that's quite definite. Another one, I don't know how you feel about this one. This is the EasyJet, which has got special post boxes at airports, and it's going to take letters directly to Santa at Lapland. I don't know how you feel about that one.
It sounds like someone in the marketing department had a brainstorm, quite frankly. I don't understand it. If they're just going to carry it on ordinary aircraft, which are going anyway, and it's not going to add to the pollution, that's fine. If they're doing special flights, then I think it's bonkers. But yes, I suppose in one respect, it's playing to the issue of there are a very large number of people who will go and travel this Christmas period. And I think if in the article it said something like 70 odd % of children, when questioned, which might not be that many, wondered whether or not Santa Claus would actually find them. So there was an element in that, which in one respect seemed harmless.
But you could argue was encouraging flights, which is is with COP going on. We know perfectly well this is one area that we should be cutting down. And my last one that I spotted was the KFC. Now, Kentucky Fried Chicken do really well on the wacky adverts. They really came into their own during COVID and lockdown and releasing. They released recipes, and then they did a whole series of "I bet you're glad to have us back" as they showed people trying to create their own burgers, and then famously they ran out of chicken and ran a whole series of "We only had one job" ads. So this time they've got a different line that apparently customers have been asking for a Kentucky Fried Turkey burger, and there's a title on the screen saying "We heard you," and the next line says "And we ignored you." The customer is always right, but not when it comes to switching out chicken for turkey. I thought that was just quite a bit of fun. They're not really encouraging you to rush out and buy more, to be honest. It's more a profile build.
Yes. In one respect, that is a saving grace about it. It is quirky. It does continue the niche that they built. I mean, they have to fight it out with lots and lots of fast food organisations these days, and they've managed to survive quite nicely from that perspective. My only real concern, quite frankly, is the nature of the food, and certainly having listened to a programme very recently on the BBC about how chickens are produced, it is not necessarily something that one would want to encourage. And certainly until they produce it made out of free-range chickens, I certainly won't buy one.
And no Christmas discussion would ever be complete about Christmas ads without talking about Coca-Cola.
No, that one is the traditional. One could blame it as being the one that started it all. On the other hand, taking away the humbug side of things, it is nice. It's heartwarming. It is something that still stirs the heart when you hear the music and the holidays are coming theme. And they're now doing more and more events and bringing it back to being physical as well as being on television and cinema. And I think that's a nice way of doing it. It will be consumed in vast quantities over Christmas. There's no problem with that from their perspective. It is again, it is bringing a bit of joy, I suppose, to people who don't necessarily feel the joy. So even I might even look at one.
So we finished on at least one positive note.
Yeah, it is hard because you know that it brings joy, and you don't want not to have the joy. But in the back of the mind these days is not what was there when you were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, as I say, when the consumerism was rife. You were very happy with it. Nobody really talked to you very strongly about the downside of these things. Now it's being explained very, very strongly. And I think that has to mitigate an awful lot of what marketers do and consider the implications for society and for the planet. So sorry to be a doom laden on this particular one, but it is COP28.
I absolutely agree. Thanks, Charles. Lovely as ever to speak to you.